Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into something really crucial for anyone running or involved in an Australian business. That's the business activity statement, or BAS, due dates. We've gone through a bunch of source material, mostly excerpts explaining Australian business compliance. And well, our mission is to pull out the vital info you absolutely need. Stay compliant, avoid the stress, and just keep things running smoothly.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that the BAS isn't just, another government form. It's actually your key way, your essential mechanism for reporting and paying some really important stuff. We're talking goods and services tax, GST. That's the tax on sales and purchases. And also your pay-as-you-go, or PAYG, installments, which are basically prepayments towards your income tax.
Right, payments.
Exactly. And if you sort of connect this to the bigger picture, getting the BAS right is just paramount because missing those due dates, it can lead to pretty significant penalties from the ATO, plus interest charges, and it can really, really squeeze your business's cash flow, not to mention how it looks.
Yeah, the stakes are definitely high. So this is where it gets really interesting for, I'd say, most small to medium businesses out there. Let's talk about those standard quarterly BAS deadlines.
Okay, the main ones.
Yeah. So first quarter, that's July through September. Your BAS for that period is due by October 28th. And like you said, that one comes right after the end of the financial year hustle. So it's easy to let it slip.
It really is easy to get caught out.
Then you've got quarter two, October through December. That one's due February 28th. Think about that timing right after the Christmas rush, New Year. Another busy period.
That makes early prep really important for that one.
Totally. Then quarter three is January to March, and that's due by April 28th. And finally, quarter four, which covers April to June, has its due date on July 28th. So marking these down isn't just about remembering. It's really about planning ahead strategically.
Mhm. And this raises a really important point, something our sources highlight, especially if your finances are a bit complex. If you use a registered BAS agent, you might get a few extra weeks for lodgement.
Okay, a BA agent. Just to clarify, that's a qualified professional, right? Authorized to help with BAs.
Exactly. Authorized by the Tax Practitioners Board. And while that extension, it sounds good, the real benefit often is their expertise. Making sure it's accurate, maybe spotting deductions you'd miss, even dealing with the ATO for you.
Ah, so it's more than just the extra time.
Definitely. But, and this is crucial, even with an agent, you can't just forget about it. Proactive planning is still key. Don't just rely on that extension as a safety net.
Good point. Okay, so beyond just circling dates on the calendar, the source material we looked at shares some really top tips for, let's say, smart BAS lodgement and general compliance. What are the critical things our listeners really need to take away from these sources?
Well, there are a few things that are pretty much non-negotiable. First off, it's vital to know this. Even if you had zero business activity in a quarter.
Like no sales, no purchases, maybe pause things.
Exactly. Even then, you still have to lodge your BAS. It's sometimes called a nil BAS. The ATO needs that confirmation. Otherwise, they'll just assume you missed it. And, well, that starts unnecessary follow-ups.
Okay, so lodge no matter what. What about if you genuinely do miss a deadline? What happens then?
Well, our sources are pretty blunt. They say, and I'm quoting here, it's not pretty.
Doesn't sound good.
No. You're looking at interest charges, the general interest charge, or GIC on anything you owe, and that accrues daily. Plus, there can be administrative penalties just for lodging late. Those can range from a couple $100s upwards, depending on the business size and how late you are. They add up fast.
Ouch. And that hits cash flow directly.
Directly. And it's not just the money. A history of late lodgements. That can flag your business for, closer attention from the ATO down the track. The source has also really hammered home the need for meticulous records. For all your GST collected and paid, that's the backbone of your BAS.
Makes sense. Keep your ducks in a row.
Pretty much. And when it comes time to pay, you've got options, AFT, BPAY, direct debit maybe, but they all hinge on lodging on time first.
Right. So wrapping this up then, what does this all boil down to for you, our listener? Mastering these BAS due dates, really getting your head around the compliance side. It's not just about dodging penalties. It's fundamental for your Australian business to run smoothly, cut down on financial stress, and just keep everything in good order. Acting early, being proactive, it's always, always better than dealing with late fees and the headache afterwards.
Well,
Can agree more. And maybe just a final thought for everyone to sort of mull over. Think about how getting really comfortable with this, taking that proactive approach to compliance, how that can shift. It stops being just an obligation, something you have to do, And it actually becomes a bit of a strategic advantage. When you're confident about compliance, you free up headspace, time, resources, stuff you'd otherwise spend stressing or fixing problems. And that lets you focus properly on what really matters: growing your business, innovating, doing what you do best. It's about setting your business up to really thrive.